Tommy Boyds.
Social analysis, and yet everybody believes that they are depriving their children of the right start in life if they don't start them off at a playgroup virtually before the umbilical cord is cut. Free call 0500 10 53 89. The fact of the matter is they will judge us harshly for the way in which we tear our children from their mums and the part that our mums play in their compliance with this ludicrous idea. Playgroups are nothing more than 20th century penal colonies. That's all they are. That's how they will be judged. That's how we should judge them today, with the benefit of whatever is the opposite of hindsight. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It will be interesting to hear why people send their children to playgroups. It will be interesting to hear from people who work in playgroups just what good they think they are doing. Do you really believe that children need to know that much about sand? Free call 0500 10 53 89. The children don't want to go. But we deny them their voice, we deny them their instincts, we deny them their vote in the matter. It is their life. They are clear that they do not want to participate in this, and yet we force them to do it. Goodness knows what scars we cause. Goodness knows whether those scars ever heal. But we do it, don't we, unquestioningly. Free call 0500 10 53 89. You can't kid me that children learn anything at playgroups. Why? There are two things that one needs to learn in life. One needs to learn a set of academic skills and a set of social skills. Playgroups are not formal enough for academic advancement, nor are they informal enough for social advancement. They are your classic neither one thing nor the other. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm afraid my theory tends to be that mums take their children to playgroups so that they can either have a break? Wasn't it her idea, along with some guy, that they'd have a child? Have a break from the greatest thing that could ever happen to you? Have a break? But that is one reason why mums take their children to playgroups. Or to earn some pin money. They rarely earn as much as it costs them to take their children to the playgroups, which generally charge a couple or £3 a session. 3 reasons why mums can do take their children to playgroups: to have a break, to earn some pin money, or to see their fancy men. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Playgroups. Nothing more than 20th century penal colonies. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Talk to Tommy Boyds. Free call 0500 10 53 89. 0500 10 53 89.
Playgroups, 20th century penal colonies. Jason calls from Portsmouth. Jason, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to disagree with you with the value of play schools or playgroups. I think they do provide a very good service. One for educating children into social interaction with other people and other children, and also that as a basis for starting school, it gives them a good understanding of routines that they'll go through. It helps them to use their fingers and, learn certain basic skills. Although sand in itself might not play a great part in their life, it will make them think about, for instance, how much sand a container can hold, or how they can get the sand into the container, those skills will be used throughout their life.
They should be learning those things with their mums at home. That's where they want to be. Why do you deny them what they want?
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I do agree to a certain extent, but I think in the real world, a mother or a father can only give so much to a child, and it's fair to say that if a mother or father is expected to give more than they can handle, the attention that child then gets is inferior and not going to do the child any good.
Where do you get off with this stuff about more than they can handle? They're only being asked to do what human beings and indeed all animal parents have done for millions of years.
And we have a perfect society. Hello?
Yes, and we have a perfect society, so it's the beginning of a sentence. Try finishing.
No, it's really a bit of sarcasm. The point I'm making is the fact that we don't have a perfect society.
Well, that's a much better way of putting it.
The millions of years of experience we've had haven't equipped us fully into dealing with bringing up children. Otherwise, we'd have no problems with kids like we're getting at the moment. And I think that it's just a case
of... Sorry, but the problems we have with children, which you hint at, although I don't suppose you've got any statistics or anything to back it up, it's what you've seen with your own eyes on the streets of Portsmouth. That may be true of everywhere. But the point I want to make is that these problems that you're talking about with children have grown up at the same time as all these add-on bits of education have arrived.
I don't dispute that there may be a bad quality of education being offered. It may be a case of that a lot of playgroups don't offer the things that the child requires.
Children just want their mum, man, until they're about 7. That's all they want.
Sorry?
Children just want their mum until they're about 7. That's all they want.
On that point, I do agree with you. I think that one child, one parent, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until the age of 7, I think that is the ideal situation.
Well, two actually, but...
But the problem we have is you get the fact that we've now got a situation where both husband and wife have to work to support a house.
No, not have to work at all. Nonsense.
Well, I mean,
Absolute
okay.
nonsense. What a person has to do in life is prioritise, and there is nothing more important than your children. Getting a second car or having the same dishwasher as the people down the road simply doesn't stack up against your responsibilities to your own children.
That's true, but then on the other hand, if there's nothing more important than your child, then if you're in a position where you aren't adequate enough to cope with looking after your child...
You see, we've got round to this, haven't we? We've got this enormous provision of education in this country, and it's largely because a very small minority of parents don't know how to bring up their children. Well, what about the 99% who provide their children with warm, loving, stimulating homes, but are being pressured into believing that those children should be at playgroups, and it's you that's pressurising
Well,
them.
they have proven that, for instance, I mean, it's slightly off the thing that you're talking, but they have proven that a child that receives private education in the first few years of schooling as opposed to government education...
Who's they, and what did they prove?
Well, I mean, it's been
Sorry.
I can't quote people, and
No,
when
you
you have
sure
your
can't.
arguments, you sit there with your facts and figures, but...
I don't, pal. I simply don't say they've proved, because there is no proof in education.
I think that it's a common belief that a child that's put through private education starts life with a much greater awareness of what's going on than a child that goes to a government school, especially when you're talking about a 1-to-6 ratio as opposed to a 1-to-46 ratio of teacher-pupil. And I don't think that anybody could dispute that level of attention that someone can get from someone who's dividing their attention between 30 or 40 people is greatly diminished.
Yeah, you're muddling up primary and secondary education with playgroups.
Well, playgroups mean that they do have to go down to the 1 in 6.
There's no pupil-teacher ratio in playgroups because they aren't pupils.
They're not
pupils.
Requirement.
They're not learning anything. They're not pupils. You're not a pupil until you learn.
Requirement. You have to have, I think the maximum is 6 people per teacher.
You're not a pupil when you're in a playgroup.
You may not be, but at the end of the day, you even from an observatory capacity or whatever you call it, the minder of the child can have no more than 6 people to look after. And the point is, that means that any attention they're giving to that child is more focused than that of a person giving attention to...
100 years ago, you'd have argued that women shouldn't have the vote.
Oh, would I?
Yes, you would.
You're
And
making
300 years ago,
assumptions now, Tommy, and I know you don't like to do that.
300 years ago, you would have argued that there's nothing wrong with the slave trade.
Again, you're making assumptions there.
I'm telling you that in 100 years' time, we will let children do what they want to do because that way lies heaven.
I don't dispute that a lot of people don't let children do what they want to do for their own peace of mind sometimes, which is probably the short way out of doing something. But again, like I say, you're making assumptions about me as a person by saying that 100 years ago I would have done this, that and the other. It's not the case.
It is, because I see a sign that says one way sheep and the other way thinkers. Now, which one do you follow?
No, certainly not a sheep.
Is that right?
Well,
Are you happy with the status quo?
Well, I'm not happy with the status quo. There are many things that I'm unhappy about, but obviously talking about one element of the failings of our society isn't going to solve the problem, and I think that you're probably focusing on something that is really not a real subject, so to speak. I mean, I like some of the things that you talked about in the past, and I like the fact that you do dig and make people think about what they're saying, especially yesterday when you had the woman who was writing to a bloke on death row, and then you had the other person come in and say, how can you do that? Why don't you do something more useful? And I like the way that you probe deeper on that, but I think with the play school thing...
It's a non-subject.
Well... It's more of a case of that it's...
Careful, because you're standing on a trapdoor there, aren't you?
I am standing on a trapdoor, but then, I mean, I could pull you back yesterday when you said to somebody...
No, I'm not drifting.
You don't make assumptions. And
it's been lovely talking to you, Jason. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, bye.
Bye now. Free call 0500 1053 89. Here's Marie in Stoke. You're on Talk Radio. Marie.
Hello, Tommy.
Hi.
What an horrendous chap. What views he... Where does he come from?
I know.
I took my boy now is 25-year-old. I took him to the playgroup. He was just a babby. Everybody said, take him to the playgroup, get him ready for the nursery. He has never forgotten that day, to this day.
No.
I couldn't leave him. He was crying his eyes out. I got to the gate, and I turned back, and I brought him home.
Yeah, good for you, Marie.
Yeah.
You freed that slave.
I did. He said to me, Mum, he said, I'll never forget it. They took my little wellies off, and they put them on the cupboard, and I saw you walking away through the window. And he said it's never left him all his life, and he still talks about it to this day.
Number of times we discover differences between men and women on this programme. It was extraordinary. The switchboard lit up yesterday with women who supported the woman who was writing to the man in Alabama on death row. And the men were almost unanimous in that she got it wrong, and what this guy needed was to suffer long and hard before he was electrocuted. And I shouldn't be at all surprised to Marie to discover that there's a gender divide on this one too.
The thing is, this poor lad, this I don't know who's, if he had children, this guy who was on before.
No.
But I think he'd be relieved to go to play school if he was the father.
Has he ever tried to hand a child over at playgroup when they scream? They hold onto your clothes.
Oh, it's frightening.
They hold onto your clothes.
And the teachers do say he'll be all right
I've seen
in a
from
minute.
Schindler's List sometimes in every high street. It's just unbelievable.
It's terrible.
We put up with all that grief because we think, oh well, the government has said education.
Rubbish.
I know that. You know that.
The kids will tell you what they want. The babies will tell you what they want.
Supposing there were men whipping other men into factories and the men were screaming, no, I don't want to go down that hole. We'd have documentary cameras there straight away, wouldn't we?
We would.
But it's only children, so that doesn't matter.
Oh, and they're so innocent. I wouldn't have sent my children to school.
If it was animals, if it was veal calves, right, being electrically prodded into sheds, going, oh, I don't want to go into the shed. Well, again, you'd have World in Action. But who's filming all these children who are being subject to the most awful trauma?
You can't imagine
every
what they're
flipping
going through.
morning.
Yeah, strange person.
It's an upside-down world, isn't it, missus?
Oh, it's
Never mind.
awful, Tommy. I'm really, really pleased you've made this point.
We aim to please.
Yes, because I've said it for years.
Good on you.
Okay, Tommy.
Keep up the good work.
Your show is brilliant.
You're a great mum. I wish you'd been my mum. No, my mum was all right. No, don't misunderstand me. Did over the top, that accolade. Cheers.
Bye, Tommy.
Free call 0500 1053 89. Playgroups. They are nothing more than 20th century penal colonies. Is your child in a chain gang right now? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Now,
at the risk of over-egging this pudding, I had a long conversation with my wife, who lectures in learning, about just how we learn to read and write compared to how we learn a more essential skill, which is how to speak and how to listen, communication. Because I'm of the theory, but she is of another theory. I am of the theory, I wonder what you think, I am of the theory that learning language is an innate skill, part of our autonomous nervous system, a bit like breathing or digesting. You don't have to think about that, you just do it. And ditto with language. Nobody thinks, I'm going to learn to speak. Nobody consciously copies out words in their own mind. You simply learn to speak pretty much all by yourself, at the knee of your mother, or at the table with your dad, or listening to your older brothers and sisters babbling away, or maybe television and radio these days is playing a part. But you don't have to try to learn a language, but you do have to try to learn to read or write. So surely, therefore, you should not begin to learn to read or write until you have a good command of language and communication, which nobody really gets until they're 10 or 11. So there it stands alone, an argument why children should not be taught to read or write until they're 10 or 11. Free call 0500 1053 89. It's a good one, isn't it? Gavin calls from Birmingham. Gavin, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy. How are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
Yes, not so bad. Lovely show. Yep, it's top, but I have to beg to differ with you on that one. Playgroup, I can still remember my days at Playgroup, riding around on my little red bus. It's not just a case of, as you were saying, education. You can't be taught things at that age, but what you can be taught there is really important, like your people skills and, mixing with people. Fair enough, kids, they don't want to go there. That's what they scream and shout, but they don't want to go to school. But what would happen if we didn't send them to school?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
what, and I'm only young anyway, but I know I'm going to send my kids there because I think that's what they don't teach at schools, people skills, and I think that's more important than a lot of education, personally.
So they don't teach people skills at school. You think that's more important than most things they do teach, so you're going to tell your children to go to school? That doesn't add up, does it?
No, what I'm trying to say is you're saying don't send them to playgroup, but, that's an important part. It's where you first learn how to get on with people. And
no, that's rot. Tommy, rot. What happens in children's homes then? Nobody communicates with each other?
Oh, of course they do, but
friends
not around people the same age of you, are you?
Now, Gavin, how many children have you got?
None at the moment, but...
Right, well, in that case, then just be quiet and listen. Look, when your wife has children, all right?
Yeah.
She'll ask other wives round who've got children of more or less the same age. Now, it just happens, man. It just happens, okay?
Yep.
And that's why you don't need playgroups. But these mums are led to believe that they aren't stimulating their children properly. Although they take them to playgroups, and it's only other mums who are running it.
That's
So why
true,
don't they just do it in their own home and do it informally? You know, some instant coffee and a yak about what's the best way of getting them to go to sleep at night, or to stop them waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is what's happened for tens of thousands of years, and nobody died.
I understand that, but like you were saying, people have got to work, people have got other commitments as well. Their children are the main commitment.
No, they haven't. They haven't got to work. Nobody's got to work. People choose to work.
Yeah, but people choose to work because you need money.
People choose to work because they need money, and that's more important than bringing up their own children.
No, but in order to bring them up, you've got to have money, haven't you, to clothe them and feed them. And some people find it difficult.
It doesn't cost a penny to bring a child up.
No, I have to differ with you on that. If it was free, then why would people go to work?
Those are the things that you think you need and that you think the child needs. But you go around a child's bedroom and you won't actually be able to find anything that's essential in there.
No, but food and nappies and everything like that, it costs a lot of money, doesn't it? And a lot of families struggle. I mean, just for them
you're not a parent, are you?
No, I'm not a parent.
When you are a parent, look at it coldly, analyse it, see what it actually involves. I mean, it is odd. It's like somebody who's never seen a game of football ringing Danny Baker and telling him just what they think Aston Villa should do with their back line. It's ridiculous, Gavin.
Yeah, but I can remember Playgroup, and you're saying everyone hates it.
You can't remember a Playgroup.
I can.
No, you can't.
I was riding around on a little red bus.
Your memories are entirely untrustworthy, utterly untrustworthy, as are mine and as are everybody's of when they were 3. Yes.
I don't know. I have to differ with you on that one. I think it is important, personally.
Yes, you do.
It builds your people skills, doesn't it? You learn to get on with other people.
We've been round that block and we've blown that one out of the water. Have you got anything else to offer?
You can't learn to depend on your mother forever. You know, you're saying you've got to spend all time with your mother, but you've got to learn to, go out for yourself, and that's an important part.
You cross the bridge away from your mother at the right moment, and it is not at 3.
No. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Tommy. Well, it's good to speak to you anyway.
Okay, the sign saying thinkers is that way.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Bye. Stephen calls from London. Stephen, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Tommy. The thing that tempted me to call was that I heard that gentleman talking about the span of control. And obviously, span of control in social interaction is very important. But the thing that concerns me is that if you get a situation whereby the mother and the child, it should be the mother and the child for a very long period, because the mother has got to get to know the child and the child's got to get to know the mother. And what I'm concerned about at the moment is that with this business that we're hearing about where the government is insisting that everybody has to go to these nurseries, etc., and they also have made a statement that's saying everybody is going to literally be able to go, and that there is going to be classes of up to 30 people. If you've got one teacher or one person that's responsible for that 30 people, then you are well out of the span of control, which your colleague that spoke on the phone a short while ago is completely right. It is that basically no one should have control more than 6 people, because basically they can never get the same amount of communication with that particular person right. And what I'm concerned about at the moment is with this business of the government trying to force these mothers back to work, or to force them to go to work before they need to, then basically we are depriving the children of that early part of childhood, which I think is vital to social interaction. And being someone that studied social psychology for many, many years and listened to you for an awful long time, I'm sure you will agree with me on that concept.
I like this man. He's got it right. He has embroidered this cloth with some fine gold thread. Thank you, sir, Stephen. I'm very grateful for your support on this one.
Pleasure to talk to you.
And you. Pleasure to listen to you. No argument, no comment. Stephen in London stands alone. His speech with his throne. Oh, shut up. Sean calls from Slough. You're on Talk Radio. Sean, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Sean.
Yeah, the guy on before, the last guy who remembered being in the bus, he may well remember being in the bus, but it's not so much the feelings he got by driving in the bus that count. Because, I mean, you're right. I think you're right about memories. We won't remember what we felt at 2 or 3-year-old when we saw our mummy or our daddy leave us. I mean, not in any meaningful way, because we didn't communicate in a configuration of words and letters at that age. So how can we say now, as a 30-year-old, as I am, that, well, I remember it was like this and it was like this?
I agree.
The way we would remember it, though, would be in the movement of our blood around our body when we saw our mum disappear down the road.
Yes.
The movement of our diaphragm as it trembled nervously, thinking, is she going to come back?
Yes.
We would certainly remember that, although that can't be put into words, and therefore most of us won't respect those memories. But
hey, what about the trauma that mums suffer?
Trauma.
But
yeah,
the guilt,
absolutely.
the agony. I mean, they go away and have a cigarette and a cup of coffee because they're shaking with what they've done to their child. It wasn't what they wanted to do. They were led to believe it was the right thing. By whom?
I know, it's sad.
For what?
The ones that go off with their fancy men, I mean, I applaud them because that's just the odd day or two here and there, and they need that bit of loving. So good luck to them, and that's great. But, I mean, the ones that do it day in, day out for the the $2.50 an hour, it's not nice. It's not good.
No.
One other point, Tommy. I've been searching for some years now. This is related for a handle on why we in the West, us people who are categorized as white people, tend to be, in my opinion, more anal and more spiritually impotent and emotionally constipated than your average person in the East and in the South of this planet.
No.
You did a show recently about wearing nappies, and you saw, and I had the same feeling. And we were watching one of those standard starvation documentaries about people in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
There was a hall full up of mothers and grandmothers and aunties with these children. I didn't see any of them wailing. I didn't see any of them leering and lusting for attention.
No.
I didn't see any of them contriving to be sad. They were just sat there in peace and quiet.
Okay, let's accept the evidence, but what's the reason?
Well, it struck me at the time, but you did a show about nappies.
They don't wear nappies.
Yeah, well, it struck me at the time that,
so they're at peace.
This is different.
I know. That's what I believe. They don't wear nappies, and so they're at peace.
Well, I caught that show, Tommy, and I think that's a damn fine point. And I really respect the way you stand on children. Because, we in the West here, we all know the first 3 or 4 years and the first 7 years, etc., are so important.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that mothers, feminine as they are brainwashed almost as easily as us men about this issue. That they do genuinely appear to feel that they have to go to work. Sure. And that they have to make some kind of commitment. It's sad.
Another rip-roaring set of views, and I'm not just saying that because you agree with me.
No, I mean, I feel this. It's not an intellectual thing. We're on the flesh and blood with this one, Tommy. So, I mean, you should make a stand on this. You should stand for Parliament on this in 10 or 20 years' time. Society's moving fast now, and the way mothers are undervalued is sickening.
I'm grateful for your call, thank you. And when you say that you like the way I stand on children, of course you mean you like the way I stand on the issue of children. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Francis is in Walthamstow. You're on Talk Radio. Francis, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
I'm just ringing up really because I agree with Playgroup. The way that you're putting them over, it's something that parents take the children into, put them in the door, and they go off. But I mean, that's not the case. You can choose the days that you want. It's a charity-based thing, so everybody is putting something into it. But you don't send your children if they don't want to go.
You don't need them though. It's artificial mothering.
But I think it's like a stepping stone. They go on to nursery, and you have the 5 days. You go either morning or you go afternoon.
Well, nurseries could be like that. Nurseries could be a stepping stone to themselves.
But they're not, because they have to go into nursery, and it's just...
There's no have to. There's no have to in anything. I hear have to so often. I hear got to. I hear must. And there is none. Not when it comes to children. You choose your priorities with your children. There's no got to with nursery. And there's nothing wrong with your kitchen, Francis, and there's nothing wrong with you asking 3 or 4 friends who've got children of the same age as you round to your kitchen, and then you going round to their house.
No, I see that, but what I'm trying to say, I mean, when I was young, there wasn't Playgroup, and I went straight into school, and it was terrible. I mean, my mum had to drag me to school.
Well, it's terrible anyway, Francis, no matter how you're so-called prepared for it.
But you do it gradually. You start off at toddler group, and the children go with their mum.
They suffer the trauma at playgroup earlier when they're more vulnerable. I don't like that idea.
No, you don't do that. You take your children, you talk to them, you ask them if they want to go, you go in, I took the time off work myself.
Well, listen, you're a case in point. This is grand, but this is not what generally happens, and you know that.
But no, I have to disagree. I mean, I'm quite involved in our playgroup, and all the parents are the same. They're involved. Senior, our play leader, she is trained, and the people that work in there are trained, and then you have some mums to help.
Trained in what? Sandcastles?
No.
Wiping faces?
No,
trained in what?
PPA courses.
In what?
In childcare management, really.
Which gives them what skills?
Well, at least...
Do you know? Because I don't. I really don't.
Well,
sorry, your point, not mine.
Well, all right, but...
You know.
Oh, how can I... Sorry, it's the first time I've been on the radio.
Well, you're doing a very good job.
But it's just that I would hate to put my Sam straight into school, and I feel this
don't send him to school. Don't send him to school. If it's a place that he's going to be traumatised by going to, why send him at all? And don't say because you've got to.
All right, I haven't got to, but I want him to socialise. I want him to do well and mix with other children. And
he can do that around your house, and he can do it in the park, and he can do it at birthday parties.
But he does do that, but he needs
So what else does he need? What?
He needs more.
What?
Well, to be with other children, to play, to talk to them.
He can be with other children as much as you want in your own domestic environment, which is where he would want to be if you really asked him.
No, not necessarily. I mean, if my husband works nights, so he comes home, and Sam is here in the morning, and he can. I mean, he'll do things with his dad, but it's also nice for him to go to. No one drags him there.
No. But on the other hand, we wouldn't want the house to be too noisy during the day, would we, with somebody sleeping through?
Well, we have a very noisy house, actually, and he's just got used to it now, but my husband goes to bed sort of lunchtime, and it gives Sam somewhere to go, but that's not the reason, because, I worried about, him sort of going out in the morning. He goes three mornings a week, and he loves it.
Francis, thanks for your call. I hope you call again sometime on anything. It's nice to talk to you.
Right, and you.
Is he asleep upstairs?
He is, yes.
Is he?
Yeah. And, we're just going out to the park, but, I just have to say, they're excellent. The playgroups are excellent.
They suit what you... They suit your...
They're not, no, I'm sorry. They're not suiting me.
I understand. They suit your wide range of needs, which we all have.
But that's not the reason. He wasn't... He's going there for your sort of...
His reasons. You choose to send Sam to play.
No.
Right, go on then.
No, I asked him. I've explained to him.
That's it.
They're off school now. It's East holidays and that. He would rather...
Be with someone else?
No, he'd rather be at playgroup. He misses his playgroup and his friends.
Rather than his home. Okay.
Okay.
All right, fine.
Right.
Whatever.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice lady. Free call 0500 10 53 89. What I'm saying is there's always another way of looking at things. That's all. That's all that ever gets said. But once you looked at something a different way, you've got to study it carefully. You've got to take a lingering look through the binoculars. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Free call 0500 10 53 89.
Up and down the country. It's been happening for some years now, and looks as though it's here to stay. But I just wonder whose idea it was and why. All our children are being sent to playgroups when they're 3 years old, sometimes even younger than that. Oh, for goodness sake, just to start them off and see if they like it. Well, they won't, and we know they won't. And the trauma and the damage that's done to them and to mums, and some dads as well, I am sure, could, for all we know, be irreversible. But somewhere along the line, somebody has persuaded them that we need to be doing this in order to give our children the right start in life. And I don't think we do. I don't think it gives them a start at all, quite the opposite. I don't believe that people need to learn to read and write until they're at least 7 years of age, and it could be that the ages of 10 or 11 is a better time to learn to start to read and write once you have learned to communicate properly. You should be focusing on your speaking and listening skills for certainly the first 1/7 of your life. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Margaret calls from Birmingham. You're on Talk Radio. Margaret, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hi.
I have read an article a few months back about a report that was done in America, and saying that children who go to playgroups, stroke nurseries, what have you, who go too soon, who are forced to share when it's not in a child's nature to share, are actually grow up to be isolated adults who cannot interact with other adults.
Yeah.
Because they don't learn the social skills at home.
No.
Send them to nursery or playgroups is not the right thing to do. They do not learn social skills there. They learn them at their mom's knees.
Cool.
And forcing mom out to work is not the thing to do. We should actually be encouraging moms or dads, a parent, it doesn't matter who, to stay at home with little Johnny and take Johnny to the park to meet little Jane and Joyce and Tom and Bill and to play there and have a good time.
Powerful stuff, Margaret. I'm grateful for your support.
And the other thing is that you don't have to send your children to nursery. You don't have to send them to school. You can home educate. There is no law that says they have to go to school.
No.
And the law actually says that all you have to do to home educate a child is to be better than the worst that the education system send out. And when they send out children at 16 totally illiterate, then you cannot do anything but win.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Margaret, fantastic. You will live forever. I'm grateful for your call.
Thank you.
Bye. Anna's in Chorley. You're on Talk Radio, Anna.
Hello?
Hello, Anna.
Oh, hi, I just heard a boop then. I didn't know I'd got cut off. Hi, I have to agree with you absolutely and totally with people getting their priorities right. Couldn't agree with you more. And if people can't cope with having children and early learning with the child and discipline, then they shouldn't have them.
No.
There are times when, like, if there's only one parent there, they do need a break, and perhaps in some circumstances, playgroup may be an alternative. What I was going to say was I can still remember now, and I can remember you opened the show with the children that got pushed in playgroup still have the scars, and they remember it to this day. I can. I'm almost 19 now, and it really is, you may laugh, but it really is quite a traumatic experience that I had. I can remember being on my tiptoes. Oh, I was hysterical. There was a round window, and I wailed for my mum, and within 10, 15 minutes she was back again to pick me up, and I never went again.
Grand. What a good mum you had.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, but for some children it can be a good thing. I mean, people that aren't, say, the most academic and intellectual of us do have children, and...
I know what you're saying. Our entire education system should be there for the use only of people who are inadequate.
Yeah.
For the use of children of inadequate parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of us would want to and should be encouraged to.
Yeah.
Work out our children's education by ourselves.
I agree with you totally.
Fantastic.
But
something wrong with the line, not to worry. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. We're talking about playgroups if you've just arrived at the radio. Good afternoon. This is Talk Radio. I'm Tommy Boyd. Between 2 and 4, Mondays to Fridays, we talk about sometimes the things that are worth talking about, but always, I hope, the things that people do talk about, and we try and make a point of talking about them the way that people talk about them. That's not to say that we rip off the top layer of intellect of the discussion in the slightest, because things can get pretty steamy and pretty complicated round the kitchen table over a cup of instant. Free call 0500 10 53 89 is the telephone number. The call's free wherever you're calling from, and however long we find ourselves enjoying your contribution. At the moment, we're talking about playgroups up and down the country, just about every high street, certainly just about every church hall, every morning. Witnesses the same scene several times over. And that's usually a young mum, occasionally a young dad, bringing a child and handing the child over to somebody who takes the child, even though the child is holding on with both hands, both fists, white knuckle tight. Tears and wails as the child is handed over to somebody else. The parent doesn't want to do it, the child doesn't want it to happen. Nobody can construct a decent argument as to why it should happen. And yes, unless some young parents really do need to have a break, or need to go off and earn some pin money, or maybe need to see their bit on the side, goodness knows what. But you can't construct an argument as to why it makes sense, educationally or socially. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Jim calls. He calls from just outside Dundee. Jim, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy. Tommy, I've listened to your show and I honestly cannot see anything in favour of what you're saying so far. Now, I don't know whether there's a basic difference between the Scottish system and the English system, but my daughter's 5 years old now. She went to play school when she was 3, 2 hours a day. None of the kids were taken in there against their will. It was a totally voluntary system, and the emphasis was on play. All the things that the kids were set out for the kids, easels, Play-Doh, drawing, they were able to take part in if they wanted to. If they didn't want to, they could sit in the reading corner and people would read stories to them, and I never saw one child taken there against their will.
How often do you eat out, Jim? How many nights a week?
I don't. We occasionally get takeaways.
You don't eat out? Why don't you eat out?
I don't particularly want to.
Why not?
Because I prefer getting a decent takeaway and having it at home with the family.
At home with the family.
Yeah.
At home with the family. So why is it different for your children's upbringing? Why have you got to effectively take your children away from the home environment, one which you cherish, okay, and take them to what amounts to a restaurant every single day of the week?
Because my daughter enjoyed it. Now, I was a helper at the playgroup on an occasional basis, as was my wife.
Right, but wait a second. Wait a second.
There, I wouldn't have taken it. It wasn't part of the curriculum, Tommy. This isn't something... I don't know whether it is in England. There may be a difference between Scotland and England on this.
No, look, Jim, I'm perfectly capable of blowing Scotland's trumpet when it comes to formal education.
It is different in England. I mean, is it something which the...
No, not fundamentally.
They're saying has to be done?
No, not fundamentally. No, these playgroups are springing up all over the place. They're usually run by volunteers. I'm sure you checked out the qualifications at the playgroup your daughter went to. What were they?
I don't know, but they had letters after their name. Which
I'm sorry?
Yeah, they had letters after their name.
Which ones were they?
I can't remember, Tommy. This was 2 years
really?
ago.
You didn't bother to find out what those qualifications meant?
No, I knew
Why not?
what they meant. Because
Why not?
There were two professional professional helpers
Something
there
or
who
others.
had to be qualified.
They did, didn't they? But you don't know what the qualifications were and what it meant that they knew.
I mean, I knew that they were qualified.
So they were absolute strangers and they had some letters after their name. That's good enough for you?
No, I knew one of them socially.
But you didn't know the other one
socially.
socially?
As a good.
You see where I'm going with this one?
Oh, I see where you're going. Because
you wouldn't take your car, would you, to some bloke who said, yeah, it's all right.
I would take my car.
I know a bit about it.
Who did
It's all
a
right.
good job. I wouldn't take them to somebody who simply had RAC after their name.
But would you take your car to somebody to mend it if there wasn't anything wrong with it?
No, but I might take it to be maintained so that nothing went wrong with it.
You can't do that yourself. What kind of a parent are you?
I can't do it to a car. I can to my daughter.
So why didn't you then?
I did. You see, these things are not exclusive. It's not a matter of doing either
yes,
or.
they are. Oh, yes, they are. No, excuse me. Yes, they are. When your child is at a playgroup, it's not with its parent.
No.
So it is exactly mutually exclusive.
If the child wants to go to the playgroup to meet up with its friends, and if it then has some of the friends round to play at his own house in the afternoon following, or goes round to their house, it's part of a rounded introduction to the idea of going somewhere to meet people and have fun. And I have to keep coming back to this, that the whole thing is voluntary. Now, I would be the first against the barricade if somebody said you must take your 3-year-old to playgroup. But as long as the playgroup is available, and as long as you, as a caring parent, check it out, and in my case, help out there on an occasional basis anyway, if the children are happy, you soon know. I mean, I don't know how much experience you have with children, Tommy, but if you have a room full of, say, 25, 26 children, they're not happy, you know it very quickly.
Is that right?
And
I must find out a bit more about children.
Well, I mean, you talk big on children, Tommy, but I mean, everyone's got their own experiences. My experience is looking after my own daughter at the playgroup.
Yeah.
It was a good, happy atmosphere, and that was why she was there. It was play school.
Jim,
that was the whole purpose of it.
Well, Jim.
Yeah.
Since you asked the question, besides being a parent and a foster parent, which of course just about anybody could do.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can. It takes a hell of a lot of. Well, skills is the wrong word, but it takes a special kind of dedication to be a good foster parent.
I'm also a qualified teacher, a qualified lecturer in further education, a professional playgroup leader, a professional park play leader, a professional youth counsellor.
You're a professional playgroup leader?
Yes.
So why are you so against playgroups?
Well, ergo, Jim, I know what goes on.
But this is, in a sense, the trap you're digging for yourself. Your judgment is based on your knowledge, and you've obviously...
You tried to pull rank, and it didn't work.
No,
talk to Alison. I don't want to talk to you any longer. As is Alison in Bicester. She thinks you're a twit.
Sorry?
She thinks you're a twit. Go on, Alison.
Hello, Tommy. Hi, can I first say it's nice to hear somebody who actually agrees with me for a change. Every time I go to the health clinic or anything, I'm always asked, now, when is your daughter going to playgroup? And she's not, quite honestly. I can provide everything that she needs and my son needs at home.
I wonder...
Oh, he wonders. He wonders. He's never heard of you. He doesn't know anything about your home, doesn't know anything about your family, but he comes on as derogatory as that. He wonders whether you're adequate.
No, what I wonder is why you seem to think that these things are either or, instead of being both. You can have the best of both worlds. You can look after your child at home, you can take them to the playgroup, and if they're happy there, they interact with the children that they're going to be playing with at your home or at their home anyway. But if they're not, they don't go. It doesn't have to be one thing or the other.
My daughter and my son, I take them to parent and toddler groups where I stay with them, where all the parents stay with them. My daughter is 3.5, and she is the most confident child that you could ever. She's so articulate. She'll talk on the phone to anybody. She'll talk to anybody, adults, children alike.
Well, that's great.
There is nothing that could have been taught to her in a playgroup that I couldn't have provided or taught her at home myself.
I have a funny feeling that the situation you're describing there is very similar to the playgroup that my daughter went to, because there were more parents there than there were professional helpers.
Well,
it was very much an
Jim, is the only experience you have of this playgroup, your own playgroup?
Well, it's the only one that I know of personally, yes. I mean, I have to judge my own experiences by
but nobody else is allowed to.
Of course they are.
Oh,
this
right.
is the point I'm making. Alison was making
No, it's not the point. You made the opposite point 2 minutes ago.
Went to a group
I think you might have gone to a playgroup when you were a child, Jim, and it might have ended up, it'd be the reason why you're so confused. Alison, we've got 30 seconds left. If you perhaps just like to wind this one up for us with a final thought.
I have my children to bring them up myself. I don't want to hand them over to somebody else until I absolutely have to. I'm dreading it. When they go to school, they need to spend their time with me, and I need that first 5 years with my children.
Alison, thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We talk about the gender divide in the next hour of the programme. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.